Hello and welcome to Where the Living Room Used to Be, a podcast about Rhode Island's music scene. Hey everyone, it's James. In this bonus episode, Duke talks about the value of a good music education, what you need at the core to be a person in the arts, and a possible reason why playing guitar came to him so easily that's really quite interesting. So thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoy this little mini episode. If you do, please leave a rating or a review wherever you're listening right now. It really does help out a lot. Thanks. Duke, thank you so much for connecting on this. I wanted to ask you, with your incredible career that has spanned decades and the amount of people that you've played with, whether it's like guesting on performances and sessions, or just the vast amount of musicians that you've played with as well. Is there a piece of music advice, maybe from like a mentor or bandmate or anyone like that, that they passed along to you that resonated and you'd like to share?
Well, I don't know how much advice I've gotten as much as encouragement.
Oh, that's great.
Encouragement from, in the 70s when I, was leading Roomful of Blues, we backed up a lot of great people. The real innovators of the genre of rhythm and blues, the early rhythm and blues, like Big Joe Turner. And then I got to sit in many times with Muddy Waters, and, they gave me compliments that made me realize that I was on the right path. Mm-hmm. And that was the most encouraging thing for me. But I mean, I have, I suppose things that I could say that would be advice for young musicians. But for myself, it was more like getting the opportunity to back up the people who really were the tops in that genre of music, and getting the response that they were very happy with me playing with them. And like T-Bone Walker, Big Joe Turner, when he played with me, when he played with Roomful, he told me took me aside and said that he was going to get a tape of me playing live and bring it back to Los Angeles and play it for T-Bone Walker's wife and tell her that T-Bone's not dead, that, it's someone who's still carrying on his sound. Yeah. Wow. And I, T-Bone's daughter is a friend of mine and a fan of mine, and she comes out with her family to see me whenever I'm in that area. Or I've played a few times at the T-Bone Walker Festival in Linden, Texas, where nice. T-Bone was born, and to have his family there and being so have so much approval of what I was doing, it kind of invalidates what the path that I followed, because I was not encouraged as a child to be a guitar player or a musician by my mother. In fact, I was discouraged very heavily. But when I was a kid, I decided when I was 6 or 7 that I was going to be a guitar player, and music is what I was going to do. And my mother said, no, you're not. That you're not doing that. We saw Elvis, it was, the mid-50s. So she saw Elvis and Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis being wild men on stage on television. And she said, oh, no, my son's not doing that. And she did everything she could to stop me, So, one thing my advice to parents is never do that. Yeah, I think there's not that tendency anymore as much as parents feeling they have to follow in the footsteps of their parents or whatever they think they should be engaging in. I know that in the 50s that was something that happened a lot, and I think today parents, I think, are more open to kids interpreting, what moves them and following that. Maybe not all parents, but one thing I would always say is don't ever do that to a kid who's got a real desire to learn a particular thing that maybe isn't something that you would hope they would be into, but you got to let them follow their heart, and sometimes, like me, I was 6. I knew that was it. There was no chance of anything else, no turning it around, nothing. That was it. I just decided that's what I was going to do, and I never changed my mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, with my own personal experience, I started playing music a little bit later, probably 13 or 14, and self-taught as well. But my parents, who are not musicians, did just give me a little bit more freedom to just go and play drums in the basement and not be good for a long time and figure it out. And but there's definitely something that I can identify with, where it's like I need to play music and I need to create and both my wife and I are musicians. So our son Garrison, we have 2 kids, but our older son Garrison just turned 6, and he just started taking harmonica lessons. So it's cool that he's looking to explore that stuff. But we do try to give him a little bit more freedom to explore and discover, like what he's into. So
they don't always continue to follow it, but it's good that they have the inspiration from somewhere that, some people, have an interest in, like, space exploration as a kid, and sometimes that just goes away, or sometimes they go on and become, highly advanced in that space aeronautics, or whether it's that or playing the guitar or any instrument. It's I think it's important to let them follow it. So it's not always their decision. It can be something that's in you, or as I believe, I actually believe in the potential of reincarnation. So I actually think that I was the guitar player before, because it came very easy to me to pick it up, and I was so obsessed by it. I felt like, without ever being taught, I picked it up myself. So I kind of just feel like it was in me, like maybe I did this before.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely have some, unequaled talent. So, that's cool to hear. But, similar to that, and you were kind of alluding to it already, as you've been playing, and, from your own experience of dozens, I mean, it seemed like you're approaching 100 releases soon, and 30 plus albums under your own name and everything like that, and playing with all these people, is there something from your own experience that you would like to share with someone and kind of, pass along from, again, like playing and touring and recording and even learning guitar, so is there something that you would like to share?
Well, one thing I do myself wish, and I would encourage other people, that you have to take both sides of the fence when it comes to music. I think it's really important to develop your ear and have a knack for picking things up by ear. But I think it's also really important to learn proper, musical form. And, I wish I learned how to read and write music. I mean, I write songs, but I don't do it on paper as far as, with written note. Although I know a decent amount about music and how to communicate it to other people, but not the way I would if I took lessons. But and the kind of music I play, it's, very few people that grew up playing music in actual blues, learned music that way. Most guitar player, especially because I'm a guitar player, that was usually something that was picked up by someone showed them a few things, and you pick it up and you kind of go on from there, and you listen all the time. So you learn. But I, if you have a chance to learn some musical education, I would take that chance, even if you were gifted. You were gifted with a good ear and were learning, learning on your own by listening to people and practicing and figuring it out. It speeds the process up quite a lot. But you also there's a chance that you can end up on the other side playing a little different than you might have if you just go with, being taught or teaching yourself and not learning to read. So there's both sides are good, but being that I have a lot of musical ideas, I arrange a lot of things when I do jazz recordings. I have a lot of the ideas for the arrangements and the riffs and the horns, and I wish that I had actually learned arranging it when I was younger, because I think that's something I really have a talent for. And the way I have to teach people ideas that I have for music is, it's a very basic way of communicating. I wish I had the real musical language at this point in my life. But when I was young, that didn't matter to me. I couldn't equate notes on a page and, the staff. I couldn't equate that with what I heard. To me, it was this spiritual thing that just came from inside me and through my hands.
Yeah.
So I think you should value a good musical education. It certainly will be useful to you at some point.
Yeah. I mean, I hear you 100% on that, and it's I have played with a lot of people as well that are like extremely talented people that are, by the book, but just don't have that ability to improvise or anything like that. So it's for me trying to find that middle ground, I guess. And
yeah, that middle ground is really what you want. That is true. I think that's the best place to be is, like when someone asked Louis Armstrong, if he could read, he goes, I can read pretty good, but not enough to hurt my playing. In other words, he didn't have to depend on it.
Yeah. And last question for this segment here is, I'm always curious to know like what inspires musicians, and this can be, with your musical career, or it can be something, just in life in general.
Well, creating recordings and creating songs is very fulfilling when you come up with something good. And just like anybody, I go through dry spells, and I also go through periods where I come up with a lot of music quickly. In fact, I work best under pressure. When it's time to come up with a record, I usually start writing very soon before I have to record, and I don't have material, so I have to, start really pushing myself to think, come up with new ideas. Sometimes they just come to me. As I get older, I need more. I need a deadline as the older I get. When I was young, I would just write, out of feeling and experience and thing. But I still do, but it's not as frequent because when you reach a certain age, I don't know, things change. In fact, just even the subjects of for blues, say, being a person, basically everything I write, if not a blues song, it's related to a blues song, and it comes from the same emotional space that blues songs come from. They're about simple things, everyday struggles and love and happiness, being comfortable, or being able to have enough money to pay your rent and be sure that you're secure, and being musicians, you're not always in that position where you are really that secure. Generally, we're a lot that, we're a few weeks or months ahead of being destitute, and we just keep getting lucky and getting more work, That's kind of the way I've looked at it. I mean, I've done quite well for myself. I own my home, and I have all the instruments I want, and, I can't complain, but there's something in those blues songs and other songs that I write that remain on those simple, everyday subjects. That's kind of the way I write. I've tried to write a few political songs in the last few years, and I either finish them and hate them, or I start them and I throw them away, because it's just not me. It's just not who I am, even though I have a feeling about it and an opinion, and I try to write about it. But when push comes to shove, I just like to get down to the basics, and usually most of it revolves around love,
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way things used to be. And I guess, at my age, it's not like I'm going to change the type of things I write about at 72 years old,
Yeah.
At least not yet. Nothing's hitting yet to change me.
Yeah.
One thing, as far as you were saying, advice, I do have some advice for anyone in the arts, whatever it is in the arts. If you're, a painter or a musician or a dancer or actor, it's something that if you want to be successful, success comes more from the satisfaction doing it gives you, because it's such a long shot in a lot of ways that you never know whether or not you'll ever really be able to earn a living until it happens. And so you have to really, the thing that keeps you excited about music has to be the music, or whatever art it is. It has to be the art itself, not, hoping to get somewhere big, because you may or you may not, but you have to learn to enjoy the experience of doing it. And that is your real reward. If you get famous and you get rich, that's a byproduct of it. But the real reward is in your heart and soul, and it's important that you keep that in mind, because if you're not doing it for that reason, because you have an emotional and spiritual need to do it, then it's barely worth doing. Because if you're just only determined to go make $1 million and be famous, at least from my experience, the only way to do it is to be just constantly involved in the art of doing the art and getting the satisfaction at whatever level from actually doing it, Of course, as I say that, I realize there's lots of people that set out to do something and turn the world upside down with whatever pop music or whatever, and actually do get to do it. But if you look at the number of people in that category, in that echelon, they're very, very few compared to most of us.
Yeah. Well, Duke, that's incredible advice, and it was really special to get to talk to you about this stuff. Thank you for that.
No problem.
Thanks so much for listening. As you heard in the full episode, Duke shared that the first release Roomful of Blues ever did was a song of his called Don't You Want to Roll With Me. They put this song out on a 7-inch. Well, I guess they actually called it a 45 at the time, but they put this out on their own label, Room Tone Records, and it sold quite well and really helped to put the band on the map. So I wanted to share this song for you here. Hope you enjoy.
Have myself a ball.